Good morning, I'm Gretchen Hong. We're coming in live this Tuesday on the final day of September, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Senator Cheese Escudero is demanding to know why former House Speaker Martin Romualdez has been excluded from the ongoing flood control investigation. Escudero, citing concerns of selective justice, pointed out that witnesses have consistently implicated Romualdez. Representative Zaldico has tendered his resignation before the House of Representatives. The Ako Bicol lawmaker attributed his decision to personal threats and what he claimed was a denial of due process. And the Senate Finance Committee swiftly approved the 2026 proposed budget for the Office of the Vice President in under an hour. Senator Bongo later said he is willing to cut his own office's budget to augment the OVP's funds if allowed. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Senator Cheese Escudero has taken off the gloves, directly accusing House Speaker Martin Romualdez of spreading a so-called script to pin senators as the fall guys. All of this while covering up alleged wrongdoings by congressmen. More in this report.
Ako, Ginoong Pangulo, hindi ako kakampi ni Martin Romualdez. Kaya lalabanan ko siya at lahat ng panglilinlang niya.
Senator Cheese Escudero has openly challenged Congressman Martin Romualdez, accusing him of spreading a script meant to make senators the fall guys while diverting attention from allegedly guilty congressmen.
Hindi ba natin nakikita? Napilit tayong pinag-aaway-away. Ito, sa aking paniniwala, ay bahagi pa din ng script at sarswela na nais palaganapin ni Martin Romualdez upang lituhin, guluhin, linlangin at sirain ang ating lipunan at bansa para lamang huwag siyang mabisto. Sana ay huwag nating payagang mangyari ito.
Escudero insisted the script was clear, pressured former DPWH officials to implicate senators, while protecting congressmen he claims virtually involved.
Klarong-klaro po ang script nito. Ipitin ang tatlong dating DPWH officials, pakantahin sa kanila, mema banggit lang na senador, habang pinagtatakpan ang mga congressman na tunay nakasabwat nila.
He further pressed Romualdez to answer for irregularities in the flood control projects. The senator also revealed that back in 2024, he pushed to realign flood control funds toward the Department of Agriculture and reported budget anomalies to President Bongbong Marcos. This, he said, may have led the president to veto large portions of the 2025 budget and to remove Congressman Zaldico as the House Appropriations Chair.
Marahil, isa rin ito sa mga dahilan kung bakit ninais ng Pangulo na matanggal si Congressman Zaldico bilang chairman ng House Committee on Appropriations. Ginoong Pangulo, sinisi po sa akin ni Speaker Romualdez ang pagkakatanggal kay Congressman Zaldico. Sinisi po niya sa akin ang pag-FLR or for late release ng kanilang mga proyekto.
Escudero further alleged that Romualdez orchestrated the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte, using the FLR and even the president's name to pressure lawmakers into signing. Vice President Sara was present in the Senate plenary when Escudero made his remarks after her office's budget was earlier approved.
Ginamit ni Martin Romualdez ang FLR ng pangalan ng Pangulong Marcos upang itulak ang kanilang unconstitutional na impeachment complaint. Sabi nila, pumirma kayo dahil kung hindi lalabas ang pondo nyo na naka-FLR bago mag-eleksyon.
In response, Congressman Romualdez dismissed Escudero's speech, saying it was not exposed but a DDS script. He added that Escudero merely deflected from questions he himself must face about flood control kickbacks. Romualdez also said Escudero's speech was nothing more than a loyalty performance for Vice President Sara Duterte.
Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico has tendered his resignation as a member of the House of Representatives amid allegations that he received billions of pesos in kickbacks from flood control projects. Here's a report.
Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico has resigned as a member of the House of Representatives. In his resignation letter, he cited threats to his life and family as well as the alleged denial of due process. Co denied accusations from the Botas representative Toby Tiangco that he orchestrated last-minute insertions and realignments in the 2025 budget when he chaired the House of Appropriations Committee. He stressed it would have been impossible to pass the budget without the approval of both the House and the Senate. He also clarified that the medical certificates are not required when filing a leave of absence, noting that as early as mid-2024, he had been consulting doctors from a heart condition. Ko further denied allegations that his family lives a lavish lifestyle. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Boying Rimulya said Ko could be declared a fugitive if he fails to return to the Philippines.
He'll be a fugitive.
Bakit po, sir?
Wala. Hindi ba ganyan talaga pag may problema ang tao, lumayas? May problema yun.
Fugitive.
So far, hindi naman siya fugitive, pero gano'n na magiging status siya later on. That's inevitable.
He urged Ko to face the allegations against him, assuring that the due process would be observed.
We have to face the music. Diba? Harapin mo yung charges, and if you say that you are innocent, then due process is always here.
Justice Chief added that Ko is reportedly in Spain. According to Malacanang, the Department of Justice has already asked Interpol to issue a blue notice allowing international authorities to monitor Ko's movement abroad.
Nakausap po natin ang DOJ at sinabi po sa atin na sila po ay nakapag-request na po for blue notice. At ihintay na lamang po siguro ang response.
For his part, House Speaker Boji III expressed surprise over the resignation of Ko. He said Ko should return to the country and face the accusations filed against him.
Bahala na ang Department of Justice at ganun din ang ICI kung anong pwede nilang ipataw. Pero kailangan talagang bumalik siya sa lahat ng paraan na magawa.
Tiangco meanwhile said Ko's resignation is not enough to absolve him of accountability and that he should not be allowed to decide when to return to the Philippines.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure has recommended the filing of charges against resigned Congressman Zaldi Ko and several DPWH officials. This stems from alleged irregularities in the 290 million peso flood control project in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro. In its interim report, the Commission flagged possible violations of graft, malversation, falsification of public documents, and the procurement law. ICI Executive Director Attorney Brian Hosaka said more findings are expected as the probe continues.
Ito po ay kauna-unahang pagpa-file po at pag-sasubmit ng rekomendasyon ng ICI sa Ombudsman. Marami pa pong darating. Pagsusumikap po ang ICI para po mapabilis ang proseso na hindi magsasakripisyo sa quality ng aming trabaho dahil kailangan po namin maging masinop.
Former PNP Chief Rodolfo Azurin Jr. is a new special advisor and investigator of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or the ICI. The Office of the President made the announcement following the resignation of Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong. Malacanang expressed confidence that Azurin's experience will strengthen efforts to ensure accountability and transparency in the use of public funds. President Marcos also thanked Magalong for his service, citing his integrity and contribution to the government's anti-corruption drive.
Kinikilala naman po ng ating Pangulo ang kagalingan ni Mayor Magalong. Pero ang kanya pong pagbibitaw bilang special advisor ay pinapanalangin naman po na hindi ito makakaapekto sa magiging trabaho ng ICI dahil kumpleto naman po ang ICI at nandun pa rin po ang integridad ng miyembro ng ICI at in addition to that, nandiyan na rin po ang executive director.
Up next, Senator Cheese Escudero has filed a disbarment complaint with the Supreme Court against lawyer Jesus Falsis, citing the latter's allegedly malicious and defamatory remarks on social media. All that and more when Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Keep it here. And good morning, I'm Gretchen Juan here at Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Senator Cheese Escudero has filed a disbarment case before the Supreme Court against lawyer Jesus Falces III. Escudero accused Falces of repeatedly posting defamatory and malicious remarks on social media. In his complaint, Escudero cited posts calling him shameless and the worst Senate president in history. He argued these comments were gross violations of legal ethics and warranted the penalty of disbarment. The former Senate president said that while officials must accept criticism, lawyers are bound to act with dignity and respect. And to talk more about this, we have on the show attorney Jess Falces himself. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Ms. Gretchen. Good morning to everyone.
Attorney, unang-una, how did you first learn about the complaint against you? Did you learn it before it was brought out to the public?
Well, I learned it. Like everyone else, from media reports, like your station as well, But there were already feelers, or may mga nagsabi na sa akin na baka kakasuhan ako weeks ago pa. I thought it was going to be cyber libel, pero apparently ang pinili ni Senator Cheese ay disbarment, which is perplexing because if he says in the complaint that may posts are defamatory, dapat kinasuhan niya ako ng cyber libel din. Oo.
Bakit kaya sa tingin niyo ito ang kanyang napili sa inyong haka-haka po?
Well, because cyber libel is a higher standard of evidence, It's proof beyond reasonable doubt to convict me, and of course sa fiscal pa lang mataas na din yung standard ngayon. Hindi na tulad dati, it's a reasonable certainty of conviction. So siguro duda siya na makakasuhan niya ako ng successful because no fiscal or no judge will agree with him that my posts are defamatory because, Ms. Gretchen, I haven't gotten the full copy of the complaint, and technically a disbarment case is confidential. But I can only react to what the media has reported, so I'm not reacting to the disbarment case per se. But if based on the media reports that my words dun sa mga posts ko, for example, na worst Senate president in history, that is a political opinion. Kahit ba abogado, hindi na pala pwede magkaroon ng opinion na sino ang worst president in history, worst vice president in history, and the worst Senate president in history. That's a political opinion that cannot be defamatory or that cannot be undignified, sabi niya. The profession needs to have dignity. There is no undignified or indignity there because that is a political opinion, and I am just upholding the Constitution. He is the one who mangled the Constitution when he did not interpret and apply the word forthwith properly. So when I defend the Constitution by calling him the worst Senate president, because Article 11, public trust, public office is public trust, that cannot be defamatory. That cannot be undignified.
Attorney, tingin niyo po ba yun yung post that struck a chord? Apart from that, tinawag niyo rin po siyang bulok na keso. Pero you've also had several posts, not just about him, but also about Heart Evangelista, citing that she's never been recognized as top taxpayer. It makes no sense how she can afford all of her branded luxury goods unless, of course, she has a generous husband.
I don't really think it's actually Miss Hart that triggered Senator Cheese, In fact, I would post it was Lawrence Lubiano and my consistent post questioning his relationships with contractors as campaign donors that triggered it. Kasi unfortunately, many people talaga takot magsalita, because madami talagang concerns pag magsasalita ka. There are consequences, and this is an example of a consequence. People in power don't want to be questioned. Even if it's legitimate, they don't want to be questioned because their reputations will be affected, their re-election chances will be affected. Kaya ako naman kasi, Ms. Gretchen, kahit na maliit ako na tao, hindi naman ako nag-aral ng abogasya para talaga kumita from being a lawyer. I studied the law. The reason why I became a lawyer is to be able to understand the law and question the powerful. Because sa Pilipinas, unfortunately, Ms. Gretchen, it's really mostly lawyers and the law that is used as an access or a tool to power. Ang daming mga abogado nagiging politiko. And, you know, that's related to the job of a lawmaker. Connected naman talaga. Pero, ang abogado talaga, ginagamit niya ang batas usually in a weaponized manner so that they can gain access to power. And this is an example of weaponization of power because he, as a senator of the Republic, and ako, kahit lawyer ako, I'm just an ordinary person na gusto niyang i-silence because, not because of the political opinions na feeling niya undignified or feeling niya parang hindi appropriate sa profession, but because he wants to make an example of me. Na wag niyo nang questionin yung mga, or wag niyong tirahin araw-araw yung mga issues tungkol kay Senator Cheese. Eh paano ko naman hindi maki-question yun? Paano hindi maki-question ng ibang tao yun? Eh laging mayroong balita. We can react to news. That is freedom of speech. And if I am threatened or cowed in fear by this case, then that would defeat the purpose of the Constitution. And I will not be cowed because, you know, itong disbarment case na to, this is a harassment suit. In other countries, itatapon agad itong kaso na to because it's there's such a thing as called the SLAPP, SLAP, Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation, and that is this disbarment case. It's trying to strategically silence me against public participation in terms of criticizing a public official na ang dami namang maling ginawa, like budget insertions na questionable sa source of God, accepting campaign donations, and then yung kay Ms. Hart, that is just tangential. That is the consequence of him being a public officer na, by the way, baka nakakalimutan kasi niya kung na-hurt man siya, nasa Code of Ethics and Standards for Public Officers yung exhortation ng batas on simple living. Public officials and their families should follow simple living, avoid extravagant display of wealth or ostentatious display of wealth. That is in the RA 6713, if I remember correctly, no? Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officers. So, yung kay Ms. Hart, nakokonek yan kasi asawa siya ni Senator Cheese kahit pa hindi politiko mismo si Ms. Hart.
Well, is this the first time that you have been you are receiving disbarment complaint?
No, because we are very outspoken, right? We are very outspoken. Sorry, I am very outspoken. So naturally, I have a lot of enemies or haters, no? And I understand them. I would understand talaga why they would get triggered or why they would hate me, no? But I will always resist any attempt to silence me. So, yung mga disbarment cases ko nun, sinasagot ko lang talaga. We will just have to go through the process because that is something that should not even be publicized. Miss Gretchen, no? Yun ang problema ni Senator Cheese. He is a lawyer as well.
So, and ano po nangyari doon? Nilabas po sa media yon, nag-feed po sa media?
Yes. If I got my information correctly, he sent, or his office sent, no? Siyempre, hindi naman si Cheese mismo mag-distribute. Pero, based on my information, the office of Senator Cheese distributed verified copies of the complaint. And that is a no-no. Because Rule 139B of the Rules of Court strictly say disbarment proceedings are confidential except for the final decision of the Supreme Court. So, even the mere filing and publicizing the filing, hindi lang yung yung what's happening during the proceedings. And giving copies of the complaint are a violation of the rules of court.
Will you file anything against the senator because of that?
Well, I don't need to file anything because whatever I need to raise, I can raise it in my answer or compliance.
So doon na lang po
I
ilalagay.
don't need to file anything except my answer.
Okay, okay. Dalawa kasi yung yung counts dito, yung propriety at saka yung fidelity doon sa kanyang complaint. One is yung propriety, dapat daw you violated the ethical standards expected of a Filipino lawyer citing your behavior towards another lawyer, and the other one, fidelity, is that you use social media instead of the proper avenue. How do you understand those two complaints?
That is ridiculous. Imagine if the Supreme Court will sanction me and agree with him, kung tama si Senator Cheese, that will create a precedent na lawyers, lahat ng lawyers pala, cannot say the word shameless against a corrupt public officer. They cannot give a political judgment or opinion that a certain public official is the worst public official in a certain position. Hindi lang naman si Senate President yan eh. That means the Speaker. Bawal na din sabihin, worst speaker ever. Bawal na din sabihin, worst president ever.
Pero yun na po ba yung pinakamaanghang na salitang nabitawan ninyo sa social media?
You know, regardless of kung ano man yung pinakamaanghang na sinabi ko, wala ako sinabing pagmumura. Wala ako sinabing undignified. Lahat ng mga sinabi ko, kahit na maanghang yan, Miss Gretchen, they are pointed, satirical, sarcastic, sharp language. Hindi naman pwede yung abogado, kahit abogado yan. Kung galit siya sa corruption, hindi pwedeng hindi pointed or sharp yung language. Kasi na-affect kami ng Ondoy, Miss Gretchen, no? Yung family ko, we had to evacuate. Talagang nag-swimming kami sa baha, mga 4 feet to 4.5 feet of flood water. We had to evacuate noong Ondoy so that, you know, kasi baka umangat pa sa second floor. Hindi na namin alam yun ng family kung aangat sa second floor. So we had to evacuate. Na Ondoy talaga kami. Malaking perwisyo yun. And to know na may ghost project or ghost projects pala ng flood control ang dahilan bakit tuloy-tuloy tayong binabaha. Ang abogado ba? Lahat ng abogado, hindi lang ako, hindi na pala pwede magalit sa corruption kung ganon. Hindi na pala kami pwede magkaroon ng freedom of speech to express. Yes. Even on social media. Kasi saan ba kami mag-e-express? Hindi ko ba siyang ipa-impeach? Hindi naman. They can, you know, senators can only be voted out through the ballot box. Hindi naman sila pwede ipa-impeach. Anong gusto niya? Mag-file ako ng ethics complaint? But I'm just an ordinary lawyer. Baka kala niya, may backer ako. Baka kala niya, malakas ako. I don't have those kind of things, no? May consequences then. If I file an ethics complaint, and by the way, wala namang chair ang ethics complaint or ethics committee ngayon. So, how can I file an ethics complaint? Wala namang chairman sa Senate ngayon. Bakante yun, ha? If you check it. Kasi nagkaroon ng kudita sa Senate, di ba? Pero, going back to my point, so, ang abogado pala, dahil lang abogado ka, hindi ka na Pilipino, hindi ka na nalulunod.
Attorney, puntahan na rin natin, kasi nandito na rin po kayo. Itong kanyang speech kahapon dito sa plenary floor, citing, I mean, the first slide was ang script at Zarzuela ni Martin Romualdez. Your reaction to that and him naming that who must not be named. Kayo po ba ay satisfied doon sa kanyang paliwanag?
The biggest question for Senator Cheese is, bakit hindi niya kasuhan si Speaker Martin? Kung si Speaker Martin ang mastermind ng script, so sino ba yung pinabasa ng script ni Speaker Martin against Senator Cheese? Si Yusek Roberto Bernardo, na hindi din naman kinasuhan ni Senator Cheese, either ng perjury or ng libel. Bakit ako ang kakasuhan niya?
Yun nga din ang isang mga tanong ko eh. Nauna po kayo.
Niya, he would file cases against his accusers. I am not an accuser. I just commentate kung ano mang nilalabas na balita ng News 5, ng Billionario News, ng ibang outlets na nagsasabi tungkol sa budget insertion. By the way, yung contractor donations, galing naman yun sa PCIJ, galing naman yun sa Rappler. Hindi naman ako. Nagre-report lang, nagko-commentate lang ako dun sa report. Pero yung 160 million kickback niya, na allegedly ay script, from Speaker Martin Romualdez, that is from DPWH Yusek Roberto Bernardo. Bakit hindi niya kasuhan si Roberto Bernardo nag-file na ng affidavit at supplemental affidavit si Bernardo? Kung hindi naman pala totoo, kasuhan niya ng perjury because that is under oath na nag-testify si Bernardo sa Senate. that is a sworn affidavit as well na nagpanotarize siya or nanumpa siya before a fiscal sa DOJ. So bakit hindi niya kasuhan? And then i-connect niya si Speaker Martin na scriptwriter. Ang problema, ang kaya lang niya, maliliit na tao tulad ko.
I guess one of the questions and points he brought up, bakit puro daw senador itong mga binabatikos, no? O kaya ini-implicate at hindi yung mga congressman. Have you written also about Martin Romualdez and other congressmen?
Well, I've written about Zaldico kasi grabe talaga yan. Kay Speaker Martin, I had to be careful as well because hindi ko pa nakikita yung evidence. Ang problema kay Senator Cheese, meron siyang mga CCTV footages na siya mismo pumupunta sa House for the budget insertion ng BICAM noong November 30 Bonifacio holiday. Based on insiders, di ba? Si Senator Grace Poe kasi, nag-deny ng involvement sa budget insertion sa BICAM or after the BICAM sa small committee. That is on record. Nag-testify na yan si Senator Grace Poe sa ICI. That's Senator Grace Poe's side as the finance chair of the Senate. On the other hand naman, syempre si Speaker Martin denies hindi daw siya nagpa-participate sa small BICAM. So what insiders say, and I'm citing here Deputy Speaker Ronaldo Puno kasi siya yung source ng balita, na ang talagang pinaka-small committee ng budget insertions ay Zaldico tsaka Cheese Escudero. So, kay Zaldico, matagal ko na yung kinikriticize because kawawa mga Bicolano dyan. Ang party list system kasi na-hijack ng mga contractors, congressman tractors, no? Yung mga contractors na congressman. Kaya siya yung naging APRO chair. Oh, but that is beside the question kasi, Ms. Gretchen, no? When a senator would say, bakit hindi dinadamay ang mga congressman? Hindi na nila problema yun. I-defend na lang nila yung sarili nila sa sarili nilang accusation because ang taong bayan, like me, no, hindi naman limited ang panawagan. September 21, nag-rally ang tao. Ako pumunta ako doon. Ang panawagan doon is not about a specific personality. It is about everyone. Lahat ng sangkot dapat managot. Ikulong na yan, mga kurakot, walang specific na tao. So, it's always a red herring, fallacious fallacy yung ginagawa ni Senator Cheese by saying, baka kawawa naman kami mga senador, walang congressman. Meron namang mga congressman na pinag-uusapan. Wala, si speaker naman, pinag-uusapan din yan. Hindi yun totoo na kawawa naman kami, mga senador, kami lang pinag-uusapan. I-defend mo na lang sarili mo, hindi pa niya sinasagot, bakit siya nagka-160 million kickback. Never niya sinagot. Di ba si DPWH Yusek Roberto Bernardo sinabi daw ni Senator Cheese, alam ko ang galawan nyo sa DPWH. Anong sagot doon ni Senator Cheese? Up until now,
hindi
wala.
Niya sinasagot. Pati rin ang kanyang, I guess, connection with Maynard Ngu. Yun din nga aking napansin. Ang sabi niya kahapon, when it comes to that, mismong si Yusek Bernardo na ang nagsabi na wala siyang direktang pakikipag-usap kay Senator Cheese. I think that was the only thing that he said in response to the accusations. But moving on, no, you had another post, yung no to state witness, Discayas are the most guilty. Sino ba para sa'yo ang qualified dito maging state witness? Kasi parang lahat nag-a-apply.
Well, as to the Discayas, no, I can only speak for the Discayas kasi itong mga DPWH na engineer, medyo bago ito. The reason why I can say confidently na hindi state witness level or they don't deserve that is because meron na tayong presidents sa Napoles case. Napoles is actually also a contractor. Similar yan, kaso hindi lang construction industry si Madam. Contractor siya because kino-contract out kay Napoles noon yung pag-implement ng pork barrel or PDAF ng mga senators or congressmen like maghahanap ng NGO na magiging beneficiary. Pero ang ginawa ni Napoles, ghost beneficiaries, ghost names, peke lahat, no? Yun yung binulgar ni Ben Horluy. So she was also a contractor. In this case, ganun din, contractor din ang mga Discaya companies and finifake nila yung completion ng project, ghost project, kung hindi man ghost, substandard, pero may mga ghost. Madami nang napatunayan na Discaya projects na ghost. So, same status sila in the sense na they are one of the most guilty. By the way, when we say most guilty kasi baka akala ng tao singular. Kasi ang most generally we relate it to singular. But under the law, there can be more than one person na most guilty. Kasi like ito, mag-asawa, Sara Diskaya, Pacifico Diskaya, more than one ka na kagad. So sino pa yung ibang most guilty? Siyempre, yung mga senators or congressmen na nag-collude or ginamit ang mga Diskayas, quote-unquote, para magkaroon ng kickback. When I say ginamit, hindi din naman ginamit talaga ang mga Diskayas. Because nagpagamit sila willingly. Sila yung may scheme. Sila yung may modus or system to implement the kickback system. So, they cannot be state witnesses if we follow Napoles. Napoles was not state witness, therefore, the Diskayas should not be state witnesses.
So, the engineers, pwede sila sa tingin po ninyo?
At the very least, the assistant district engineer kasi may mas mataas na boss. So by logic, hindi siya most guilty. The district engineer, baka kasi nga, it might be Yusek Roberto Bernardo who's the most guilty kung siya yung mastermind or mga bata niya kasi quote-unquote daw yung mga BGC boys. It depends.
Okay. I want to get your thoughts on Orly Guteza, yung kanyang yun nga, yung peking notaryo daw, nasabi ng lawyer, never signed that, called it fraudulent. Does that nullify his testimony? Or iba yun? Kasi nag-oath na siya before the Senate.
If we're talking about technicalities, no, nullification hindi. It doesn't nullify his testimony. Because tama naman yung mga sinasabi ng mga defenders niya na when he testifies under oath sa Senate, he gives the testimony anew. So kahit ma-disregard yung affidavit, valid pa din yung testimony na verbally sinabi niya. Kaso, ang problema, if si Orly Guteza ang nagpanotarize niyan, because he claims siya nagpanotarize. Tinanong siya ni Senator Marcoleta, pinanotarize mo ba? Pumunta ka ba sa notary? Tinanong din niya na, pinaulit verbally. So, he was also saying that under oath. If that is false, ganito kasi yan. Hindi ko nagagamitin yung popular ngayon. Popular na kasi ginagamit ng iba yung falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus, falsity in one, falsity in all, no? Ang point ko lang dyan, if totoo na finalsify niya, assuming that to be the case, if he has the capacity and the audacity to falsify the notarization, then what else does he have the capacity and audacity to falsify? Maybe his testimony. So, hindi na nullify yung testimony niya, but his entire credibility is put into question.
Pero hindi ba parang, actually napapatanong ako, kasi bakit naman PPKin yung pagdonotaryo? Hindi ba usually madali lang yun? And staff, usually it's not the main lawyer, but it's the staff who does the notary work. Your thoughts, bakit kaya nagkaroon ng kaguluhan doon?
I've been hearing that, no, talagang laging nasasabi, hindi naman lawyer yung nagno-notarize. Ano yun, just to remind the public, maling-mali po yun. Ako lagi din po ako nagpapa-notarize. For example, kasi may mga nagpapatulong sa barangay, I have to give an affidavit and then ipapa-notarize ko yun. I have to personally appear. I always make sure, meron akong paboritong notary dito sa may barangay namin. I make sure I personally appear. And I make sure na makikita ako ni lawyer. Kahit may secretary siya, si secretary mag-aayos ng lahat, magsastamp, etc. Pero, kailangan makita ka nung notary public. Para makita niya, ma-attest niya, nabasa din niya yung notary ay yung document mo.
Kasi lawyer. Oo.
The notary will get a copy of your document na pinapanotarize. Kailangan, makita mo din na si lawyer, si notary, kumuha siya ng copy. At kahit tiningnan man lang niya, hindi naman niya kailangan basahin lahat, 10 pages kagad, there and then on the spot, no? Pero basta may copy siya, chinek man lang niya yung pangalan mo, etc., etc. Kailangan personal yan. So, hindi na talaga uso. Medyo siguro 1990s, 2000s. Yung secretary lang, pwede na.
But giving benefit of the doubt, giving benefit of the doubt to Orly Guteza, maaaring nagkaroon din ng negligence itong attorney. No, nagsabi na hindi peke yan. Is that a possibility also?
Kasi syempre, ako as a lawyer, sabi nga ni Senator Cheese, treat other lawyers fairly. Mas bibigyan ko ng benefit of the doubt yung abogado na kung sinabi niya, pineke yung kanyang notarization, sa ngayon, mas maniniwala ako sa kanya. Pero, regardless naman sa sentiments natin, mag-i-investigate naman ang Manila RTC the judge, the executive judge of the Manila branch, because sa Manila pinanotarize, she will investigate. Babae yata yung executive judge.
Correct. Okay, bilang panghuli, sino pang gusto mo makita dito sa mga hearings? I mean, I believe it is wrapping up already in the Senate. Sa Kongreso, tinatanong nga namin si Kong Ridon kung talaga bang tapos na dahil ang dami pang lumalabas sa na findings. No? Are you happy with the way the investigation is going with the ICI and the direction it is taking, and who else would you like to hear from?
Well, I think the Senate hearings should go on, no? Hindi pa dapat yan matapos kasi they are very transparent. Kahit na madaming problema sa Senate hearings, may issues, may concerns. Ang ICI kasi hindi publicize ang hearings. Meron na tayong mga progressives, good governance advocates who are calling on the ICI to hold transparent public hearings because syempre mababa ngayon yung confidence and trust ng tao sa gobyerno because they know parang halos lahat pala sangkot or halos lahat implicated. So kung hindi kasi transparent yan, ano yung natatago sa tao? Mahirap magtiwala. More than the Senate hearings and the ICI, Ms. Gretchen, I look forward more sa actions ng taong bayan. Kasi taong bayan naman sa kanilang mga rally at protesta ang makakapag-pressure sa gobyerno na talagang gawin ang tama. Napaka-successful ng September 21 rally. I hope the public is able, the public are able to sustain it kasi meron talagang outrage, fatigue, napapagod ang tao. Pero sana we sustain it because this is an issue that requires endurance. Kasi lahat sila corrupt eh. So kaya ang tao kailangan hindi mapagod.
At sana wag din po kayo mapagod. Fighting for the good. I'm sure you can also defend yourself. Ramdam na ramdam po namin ang inyong passion. No? But we'll leave you to that. Maraming salamat for joining us and giving your 2 cents on the latest happenings with the flood control probe. We have Attorney Jesus Falsis III. And coming right up, some 36 billion pesos previously earmarked for flood control projects will be given to the DSWD. President Bongbong Marcos said the shift will ensure more Filipinos are lifted out of poverty via welfare initiatives. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. President Bongbong Marcos has ordered the diversion of 36 billion pesos in flood control funds to the Social Welfare Department. The president said the money will support programs like 4Ps, emergency cash aid, and livelihood projects, ensuring more Filipinos are lifted out of poverty. The reallocation comes after the DPWH slashed part of its flood control budget following allegations of corruption in kickback schemes. And joining us to tell more about that, we have Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao of the DSWD. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Matters. Welcome back.
Hi, Gretchen. Good morning.
Okay, una-una ho, itong 36 billion, where do you imagine this to go? Is it going to be determined by the President, or have you made your recommendations?
Yeah, Gretchen, foremost, we would like to re-echo the statement of Secretary Rex Gatchalian that we are very thankful for the President's decision to give 36 billion pesos from the flood control projects to the DSWD as our additional budget for our social protection programs. That includes, of course, the assistance to individuals in crisis in situation and the sustainable livelihood program. Because this would mean that more Filipinos in crisis and that are in need of government assistance will be served by our social workers, and mas marami nga po tayong ma-assist na mga kababayan po natin. So on your question, yung AICS kasi and the Sustainable Livelihood Program are some of the programs na medyo nabawasan po yung pondo natin from as reflected in the 2026 National Expenditure Program. If you could recall, around 44 billion pesos yung pong budget namin for assistance to individuals in crisis situation this year. But doon sa NEP for 2026, naging 27 billion pesos na lang po ito. That's why during the budget deliberation of the DSWD's proposed 2026 budget, Secretary Rex Gatchalian mentioned that we would welcome, of course, any addition to our budget because mas marami pa po tayong mga kababayan na nakakaranas nga po ng crisis who may be assisted if additional funding will be given to the department. Likewise, yung Sustainable Livelihood Program kasi, that has been identified as one of the aftercare services for 4-piece beneficiaries who will be exiting from the program. If you could recall also, by 2026, more than 1.6 million 4-piece households will be exiting from the program as a result of the 7-year program participation na nakalagay doon sa 4-piece law. So we wanted to make sure that we would be able to provide livelihood activities for them to ensure na masustain yung investments natin sa kanila and matiyak na hindi na uli sila babalik doon sa poverty trap.
Okay, bukod po dun sa nabanggit po ninyo, no, meron din nabanggit yung Pangulo na magbibigay din daw po sa payapa at masaganang pamayanan or pamana program, pati na rin sa 4-piece that suffered a budget cut of 50 billion. Yun din po ba? Or ito ng AIX at SLP yung mabibigyan?
Well, that's correct, Gretchen. Mentioned din ni President that additional funds will also be given to strengthen the implementation of the Payapa at Masaganang Pamayanan Program or PAMANA. Ito kasing PAMANA natin, it provides interventions to integrate yung mga former combatants from the New People's Army, from the MNLF, the MILF, into our society through infrastructure programs, livelihood, health, and educational programs doon sa mga conflict-affected communities natin. So, most of our sub-projects or projects kasi sa mga pamana-led aside from their housing, of course, yung din sa sustainable livelihood intervention. So, po pwede rin na makuha natin from this additional funding na 36 billion. And yes, for the 4-piece beneficiaries, as I've earlier mentioned, it could be included in the aftercare services for those who will be forced to exit by next year.
Oo, so magkano po ang ilalagay po dito sa mga programs na nabanggit po natin?
Well, hindi pa natin na-determine exactly Ms. Gretchen kung papaano yung breakdown nung 36 billion pesos, but definitely it will be these programs that we've mentioned will be prioritized na magkaroon ng allocation.
Oo. And yung AIX, sabi po kasi ni Senator Gatchalian, or Secretary Gatchalian rather, that yung AKAP at yung AIX ay natanggal ng DBM dito sa 2026 budget. So, hindi siya natanggal completely yung sa AIX, meron pa rin siyang pondo?
Yung assistance to individuals in crisis situation, based on our 2026 NEP, meron po iyang 27 billion pesos.
Meron. Oo, hindi siya completely natanggal. Pero yung AKAP po,
na-reduce lang siya because for, as I've mentioned, for 2025 kasi nasa around 44 billion pesos yung funding namin for that. But for the 2026 NEP, na-reduce siya to 27 billion. Yung ayuda para sa Kapusan Kita program, yun po yung wala ng funding for 2020.
Okay. And then, yung tupad, ano po ang pagkakaibahan ng tupad dito nga po sa SLP? Kasi pareho silang livelihood, hindi po ba?
Well, yung tupad naman po, that's a program of the Department of Labor and Employment. Yung SLP naman po is the DSWD, where we provide capacity building activities to capacitate yung mga mahirap nating mga kababayan para magkaroon sila ng mga either thriving livelihoods or matulungan naman sila for employment facilitation.
Can you give us an estimate of how many additional families that this injection of the budget of 36 billion will benefit? Meron na po ba kayang tala?
Well, kasi kung tinitingnan natin yung targets natin, right now I cannot provide you how many families and individuals who are experiencing crisis may be assisted by the 36 billion pesos.
Kasi ito po ay depende lang, no? So application.
Yes.
Oo.
That's
Okay.
correct. Kasi
I guess
depende yan doon sa inilalapit na tulong sa DSWD.
That is
But
one of the major concerns of this flood control budget being reallocated to the DSWD, is that it is also patronage laden. And yun nga, parang hindi siya katulad ng 4Ps na very organized, na meron ka ng list of beneficiaries. Pero dito po sa mga ayuda programs, madalas nanggagaling po ito sa mga endorsement ng mga politiko. So, what are you doing from your end to make sure there are safeguards na hindi po ito mapoliticize yung pondo po ng DSWD?
Well, Gretchen, definitely our assistance to individuals in crisis situation is insulated from any political interferences. Whether walk-in ka man o na-refer ka man, sasailalim ka sa proseso ng AICS na kung saan dapat ma-assess ka ng social workers, because it is the social worker who will assess if you are eligible to receive aid from the government. Meron tayong mga documentary requirements na hinihingi. Halimbawa, you come to the department to seek for hospital confinement assistance. Medyo malaki na yung expenses nyo sa ospital. So, kinakailangan mag-present ka ng hospital bill or ng promissory note kung na-discharge na po yung pasyente. And of course, yung medical abstract or medical certificate. Mahalaga po kasi iyon na masubmit sa aming po mga social workers. And second, sasailalim rin po sila sa interview ng ating pong mga social workers. Ina-assess po sila to make sure that they are really eligible to receive assistance or aid from the government. There are safeguards also in ensuring that ma-insulate yung program mula sa anumang anyo ng political influences. Isa nga dyan nga, meron tayong we have in place a grievance redress mechanism na kung saan kapag may mga reklamo hinggil sa implementasyon ng programa ay agad po na i-investigate yan ng DSWD, and kung magkaroon man po ng proof na ginagamit yung programa to advance the personal interest of some, DSWD na po mismo ang mag-i-initiate na mag-file ng appropriate charges. And we've done that in the past, Gretchen, na meron na nga pong mga charges na na-file against individuals na sabi nga nila ay binawasan yung tulong na ipahatid doon sa mga clients natin.
I guess hindi lang din po yung yung dagdag bawas po ang nagiging problema, but also yung mga politiko pag nagpapamigay po ng ayuda, nandun po sila. Katulad na lamang po ni Senator Amy Marcos back during the campaign period, and in 2023, she led the distribution of AICS. At minsan hindi na kailangan na yung kumbaga yung mag-side by side lang ba itong tulong na ito at yung politiko at sinabing kumbaga i-endorse kita. Hindi ba yung parang yun na yung napopoliticize po yung pagbibigay ng ayuda? Kayo po ba ay pumapayag sa ganun? I mean, paano po yung distribution process po ninyo?
Well, again, Gretchen, ulitin ko po, no? Doon sa assistance to individuals in crisis situation, sumasailalim po yan doon sa assessment ng ating pong mga social workers. Meron pong mga guidelines tayo na sinusunod pertaining to pag-determine sa eligibility ng ating pong mga clients or ng mga beneficiaries. Pangalawa, there's this assessment nga of our social workers na hindi talaga dapat ma-forgo. Yun yung pinaka-importante because there's this intake sheet na ginagamit po ng mga social workers as part of the assessment process. And then, of course, may mga instances na meron po tayo mga partners na bumibisita po during mga payout activities. But you know what, meron po tayo mga linabas na guidelines na sinabi po natin na hindi po dapat magpunta yung pong mga political candidates doon sa mga payout sites natin, and dapat hindi nga po gamitin yung pong mga payout venues natin to advance their political...
Candidates lang ho, how about sitting officials? Because tapos na po yung campaign period .
Well, yun dun sa mga incumbent officials po natin, of course, we continue to maintain yung pong relationship natin sa kanila because we're very grateful that they provide us with payout venues. They help us also by sending additional manpower. But hanggang ganun na lang po, no, as tinutulungan lang po tayo na maging maayos, maging orderly and safe yung po mga isinasagawa natin ng payout activities.
Pero tumatanggap pa rin po kayo ng referral at saka endorsement letter from our politicians?
Like what we always say, Gretchen, walk-in ka man o may referral ka, you go through the same process. I-assess ka pa rin po ng aming pong social workers. Hindi po nangangahulugan. It's not automatic that when you have a referral letter from your local officials, makakatanggap ka na agad ng tulong. That's not the process. You still have to undergo the validation, the vetting process, and the assessment of our social workers.
And speaking of in crisis, what would the definition of being in crisis mean? Kasi marami po tayong mga kababayan na nangangailangan din ng tulong at nabanggit mo kanina yung medical assistance. Ano? So para sa mga manonood, if they want to avail of this, ano po yung definition po no, in crisis? Ano pong gagawin po nila?
To simplify, Gretchen, kapag ang isang pamilya, even if they have resources, kapag po nagkasakit ang isang miyembro ng kanila pong pamilya, matagal na ospital, hindi po ba kahit po may mga savings kayo, na-exhaust po yung inyo pong ipon dahil kinakailangan yung sagutin o i-address yung mga medical requirements. So, ganun din po sa mga individual na talagang walang-wala po, walang mapagkukunan. Kaya po ang sabi natin doon, they're in crisis because these are adverse shocks that affect their well-being. So, for families na nakakaranas po ng ganito, tinutulungan po natin sila by helping them pay yung kanila pong mga hospital expenses. So ang ginagawa po nila, pumupunta po sa DSWD, nagdadala po sila ng medical certificate or medical abstract, and then yung outstanding bill po nila sa ospital. And then ini-interview rin po yan ng ating po mga social workers. Tinatanong po ng ating mga social workers kung ano po ba yung resources ng family. May mga support services po sila, may mga external resources po ba sila, may miyembro ng pamilya na nagtatrabaho, ilan ang miyembro ng pamilya, magkano ang expenses po nila sa araw-araw. Because, that's part of the intake now of our social workers in determining kung eligible ang isang pamilya by ascertaining if indeed in crisis po yung pamilya. So, ganun po yung proseso natin in determining if in crisis situation yung isang. Another thing, just to again simplify things, ang miyembro ng pamilya may namatay and yung possible na yung namatay ay breadwinner po nila. So in crisis po sila kasi nawalan po sila ng mga support services. Essential po yan sa isang pamilya. So pupunta po sila sa DSWD, hihingi ng tulong for burial services and other interventions. Take note that assistance to individuals in crisis situation is not purely material. Meron din tayong non-material assistance kagaya nga po ng mga psychosocial interventions, counseling, referral, and other support services.
And yung amount po, pag sa medical bill, I mean, meron po kayong percentage na nakaset po dyan?
Meron po tayong guidelines, nakalagay po yung minimum and maximum. But then again, it's subject to the assessment of our social workers. And there are two modalities in the provision of assistance to individuals in crisis situation. It could be in the form of cash or in the form of guarantee letter. For cash po yan, outright cash po yan kapag less than 10,000 pesos yung pong assistance na hinihingi. But halimbawa for hospital bills na umaabot ng mahigit 100,000, 150,000, we issue a guarantee letter. Kaya meron pong partnership ang DSWD with service providers like hospitals para diretso na po na makipag-usap si DSWD doon sa service provider at kami na po yung magbabayad doon sa hospital bill ng pong mga clients na lumalapit sa DSWD.
Alright, sana marami pa pong matulungan ng DSWD, especially with this budget reallocated to these programs. Maraming salamat for joining us today and answering some of our questions. We have Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao of the Social Welfare Department.
Thank you, Gretchen. Good morning.
Meanwhile, thousands of students from the University of Santo Tomas and Far Eastern University staged walkouts in Manila to protest widespread corruption in government. UST student groups and labor organizations gathered at the Arc of the Centuries, while FEU students rallied along Nicanor Reyes Street. The protests also raised issues on tuition hikes, blended learning, and campus transparency, alongside broader calls to end corruption, police brutality, and attacks on democratic rights. Organizers stressed the walkouts are part of a larger youth movement demanding accountability and genuine change. In weather, rains are expected across the country due to easterlies. Easterlies are winds that bring warm and moist air that lead to cloud formations. Metro Manila, Bicol Region, Bulacan, Rizal, and Quezon may expect scattered rains, while the rest of the country may experience isolated rains and thunderstorms. No low-pressure area has been spotted within and near the Philippine area of responsibility. We hope it to stay dry across today. That wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Hall. We are One News, all sides, all the time.